we have Susanna Harris Wilson, who lives in England and speaks English. She has had a lifelong love of literature and particularly Shakespeare. And in 2012 in London, during the Olympics, there was a cultural Olympiad, and there were 37 Shakespeare plays that were performed, and Susanna produced in different languages, by all different countries, and Susanna was responsible for producing the one that the Pakistanis put on, and she's going to tell us about that experience.
Yes. Well, I passed around a piece of paper on which is the prologue from the beginning of Henry V, which has 5 prologues, each introducing one act. And when you go to drama school, you are all going to learn this monologue of the chorus. And I went to drama school at 40 and was doing somersaults and headstands and jazz dance and all the rest of it, 20-year-olds, and feeling a bit stupid. And when I was in the plays that we were putting on in drama school, I was always told, you know, you're directing the plays instead of acting them. And I ended up, of course, going back to teaching literature, but doing it through performance. And I found that wherever I went, whether it was community college or Pakistan, that getting your students up on their feet with a Shakespearean text was the most wonderful way of teaching them how to love literature and to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. Anyway, after I had retired some years, somebody approached me with the idea that they needed somebody to bring Pakistan to this cultural Olympiad at the Globe Theatre. And would I be willing to bring a group from Pakistan to do that? And I sort of, what, me? Well, I ended up agreeing, and then was asked, and what play would you like to bring? I am not somebody that has much patience with political correctness. And if I did, I would never have put on Taming of the Shrew. But many years prior to this, I had been teaching at community college in a remedial class, and we started to read Taming of the Shrew. And I suddenly saw something that I'd never seen before, and I've not heard it referred to in relation to Taming of the Shrew. There are lots of tutors and books in Taming of the Shrew. Kate and her sister Bianca have been educated. Their father, who evidently is a widower, sends them to the university in Padua. Well, Padua was, during Shakespeare's time, the great center of learning in Italy. And education, college education, sort of came to Britain really through Italy, as did the sonnet and a lot of poetry. And I started to think, hey, this is just like Pakistan. Those parents of my former students always educated them the best that they could, sometimes sending them abroad. And then when they came home, these same parents would force an arranged marriage on them to some moron who couldn't really converse with them. They were way ahead of some rich landowner, feudal landowner or something. I thought, that's Kate. She's fed up with being told she has to marry a moron. She's so intelligent. So I thought, Lahore is the Padua of Pakistan. It's the university and cultural center of Pakistan. And Petruchio is a Pathan. And he's inherited, as Petruchio does in Taming of the Shrew, lands from his dead father. But in Shakespeare's time, it's becoming a mercantile society. He needs money, not land. And he spots a good businesswoman. And they develop a partnership. And I have to tell you, we had such fun creating an interpretation of the play that shows Kate taming Petruchio and Petruchio taming Kate by recognizing that she'd make the best business partner ever. And, of course, this was an early play of Shakespeare's. Shakespeare married a woman older than himself, and she was a businesswoman. And she sent him to London and said, you send me back the money. And she invested it in land, and that is for sure. You read James Shapiro's 1599 about Shakespeare around the time that he was writing this play. So we put together a play. The Elizabethan play was translated by 3 women, young Pakistanis who had been educated in Pakistan, and then they'd gone and done English literature at Cambridge. But they were living in 3 different countries. One was in Canada. They were friends. One was in Canada, one in Lahore, and one in London. So on the weekends, they would Skype one another, and they translated into the Urdu a most remarkable translation of Taming of the Shrew. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole thing. It's in Urdu, but it came to the Globe, and the Globe, as the introduction said, was doing this whole run prior to the Olympic Games of Shakespeare's plays, each one interpreted and in the language of a different country. There are 37 plays, and the Gujaratis did All's Well That Ends Well, and the Israelis did Merchant of Venice, and Chicago. Did they do Othello? Anyway, it was a most unusual experience. And the Globe, if you go to England, I plead with you to go to the Globe. It's a reconstruction of Shakespeare's Globe, and it has drawn so many young people into loving Shakespeare. And they've also got, as Mary Lynn knows, added to it an indoor theater that's lit only by candlelight and does Jacobean and Elizabethan plays and other things. So these kids, well, a lot of them were not kids, they were professionals, and we brought them by plane. We did a tour up to the immigrant Rotherham, and there are lots of Pakistanis who are settled up in Bradford and Rotherham, etc. like that. They did it in Oxford and they did it in London on the Globe. We had 2 performances. They were sold out and they were really well received. And I'm just going to show you, because I want to show you the Globe and the musicians that we got, a sitar player. We have a little group of musicians, the rabab, of course the various, the tabla, and it's a flute. And I hope I can get this running, because otherwise, okay.
Thank you.
Now I'm only going to show you the very beginning. Oh, I've been told there's very little time, so I'll just give it to you. All right, this is just the opening. Yes, it is.